Welcome to the Monday edition of These Things Are Written. Today we begin Acts chapter 10. Acts chapter 10, I think, is one of the most critical passages to the book of Acts. It's one that moves the mission away from the Jews and Jerusalem into the outer reaches of the world, which opens up Christianity to all people, not just God's chosen people. We begin with Acts chapter 10, verse 1. At Caesarea, there was a man named Cornelius, a centurion of what was known as the Italian cohort, a devout man who feared God with all his household, gave alms generously to all the people, and prayed continually to God. About the 9th hour of the day, he saw clearly in a vision an angel of God come in and say to him, "Cornelius." And he stared at him in terror and said, "What is it, Lord?" And he said to him, "Your prayers and your alms have ascended as a memorial before God. And now send men to Joppa and bring one Simon, who is called Peter. He is lodging with one Simon, a tanner, whose house is by the sea." When the angel who spoke to him had departed, he called two of his servants and a devout soldier from among those who attended him. And having related everything to them, he sent them to Joppa. This is the word of the Lord. An amazing thing that happened, isn't it? That God would send an angel to a Gentile, to a Roman, to one of the people who was inhabiting the promised land. Why would he do that? Well, first of all, let's get an understanding of what's going on here. Caesarea was a Roman city. It was kind of the capital of Palestine for the Romans. It wasn't Jerusalem where they had their capital. That was the Jewish capital. The Roman province capital of Palestine was in Caesarea by the sea, a much more hospitable place, you could say, for the Roman people. This man, Cornelius, was a centurion. It means that he oversaw about 100 men. In the New Testament, every time a centurion is mentioned, it is very positive. They were in many ways good people. They were people who knew the politics of an area. They knew who to talk to and how to talk to them. They often were encouraging to Christians, to the disciples, to others. Remember, as the centurion at the foot of the cross who said in Mark's gospel, "Truly this man was the Son of God." He was the centurion of the Italian cohort. This was an elite set of troops, of volunteers from Italy, and they were known as some of the best fighting troops, the most devout troops that there were. We also learn about Cornelius that he was a devout man who feared God. You see, he had given up his Roman gods and was following the God of the Israelites, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He had not converted to Judaism yet, because that's why it talks about Paul later on. It'll mention Paul dwelling in the house, which was against that because he was a Gentile. He had not converted to Judaism, although he worshiped the one true God. You might say that he had joined the faith, but had not joined the church. It also says that he was with all of his household. That kind of reflects the devout nature of Cornelius. And he not only was he a follower of the one true God, but he also led his family in that way as well. The final thing that we know is that he gave alms generously. He gave to the poor, to those who needed it. You see, his faith was reflected in his actions. Unlike so many others who had their faith based upon their actions, in other words, their actions led to their faith, Cornelius's actions flowed freely from his faith. So the angel of the Lord, or the Lord, sent an angel of God to this man, Cornelius. The vision happened in the 3rd or the 9th hour, about 3:00 in the afternoon. This angel came and notice the response. The response was one of terror. That's a normal response, isn't it, for someone who has seen an angel in the Bible? It's a normal response because no one who sees an angel says, "Oh, it's so good to see you." They are fearful because they recognize the power of the Lord and the difference, the not normal aspect of an angel coming to visit someone. The general understanding of this vision was that he was to send for Simon, the one known as Peter, who was staying at another Simon's house, Simon the tanner, and invite him to his house. See, God is working through Cornelius in one way, and tomorrow we'll see how God is working in the same way through Peter. So both get the same message, so that it is clear that this is not simply a dream, that it is something that God is doing, something great that God is doing. May God lead and guide us to be like Cornelius. No, not true worship the one true God of Judaism, but really his worship was what of the one true God. He feared the Lord. He had that relationship that is so needed. He just had not heard about Christ yet. But may we be a devout man like him, who fears God, who with all of our household is devout before the Lord, and is generous in letting our faith flow freely, through our actions flow freely from our faith. That's what God desires from us. And may God guide us by his Spirit to do that good work that he has for us. Go now in peace and serve him always. Amen.